But now it's actually pretty nice weather here in New York. It's just very cold. I think it's in the 40s, but it feels as if it's in the 30s for tonight. So there's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a very, very big week on Wall Street. We have lots of economic data that is going to be coming out that is going to be influencing monetary policy. So just so we all know and we're all on the same page here, the Federal Reserve has their FOMC meeting on March 20th. So in about 10 days, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and all of the other Fed presidents will be meeting to set the tone and set the pace of monetary policy. But first, this week, particularly on Tuesday, is going to be the day to watch, because Tuesday is Inflation Day in America. Yes, that is right. We're going to be getting the CPI numbers out on Tuesday before the market opens. Now, if we talk about what the experts are expecting, okay, many of the economists, many of the analysts at all of the major investment banks and financial institutions, everybody is really expecting about a 3.1% headline number for CPI. In addition, core CPI is expected to come in right around 3.7%. And just a quick review, the headline number includes volatile food and energy. Core CPI excludes, right? So very important. We'll also have some notable earnings. We have Adobe. It's going to be reporting earnings on Thursday, big software company there. Also, Oracle, ticker symbol ORCL, will be reporting earnings tomorrow. So on our live stream, we will be doing a deep dive into Oracle's earnings. Then to finish off the week, another interesting leading economic indicator, we are going to be hearing from the University of Michigan as they release their Consumer Sentiment Index that is out on Friday. So consumer sentiment, I think it's going to continue to improve a little bit, although we had a dip in some other readings. Consumers really just generally negative on the outlook of the entire economy. I think that's normal going into an election cycle. Coming up in November, we obviously have the election. I'm sure all of you are looking forward to that. Probably some of you aren't, but it's something we got to go through. And usually, everybody is quite negative and quite turbocharged and quite riled up going into an election cycle. So we'll have to keep tabs on that. Before we start, I just quickly want to check in on futures. We'll look at the ticker symbol ES, which is the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract. We just opened up about here a while ago, and the S&P is down about 4 points. So we're pretty much about flat. Trading at $5,188 on the S&P. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ 100, ticker symbol NQ. We're down about 35 points, trading at 18,261 for the very tech-heavy NASDAQ. And last but not least, the Dow 30, the E-mini futures contract for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're about flat, down about 12 points, 39,181. We'll just check Bitcoin really quick, since cryptocurrencies have been ripping in general. We're trading just shy of all-time record highs at 68,143. All right, so everybody, I'm going to go ahead and close up the laptop here. I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will go ahead and get started here in just a moment. Oh, but before I forget, hold on one second. We have interesting piece of data here, guys. Give me 1 minute. Let me get it out. Let me put my microphone on. Guys, look at this. It's too windy, so I'm going to have to hide the cover. This is a little bit of a concerning Barron's article that just came out. Look at this. Front page of Barron's, it says, bet on the bull. Yikes. And if you remember last week, The Economist, which is a great contrarian indicator, also came out with a really, just ripping bullish headline about how this bull market's going to go on forever, yada, yada, yada. Now, do I think that the bull market's over? No, I don't think that the bull market's over. I just think that we are transitioning into a new phase of the bull market. So what do I mean by that? Hold on, let me make sure my microphone is on good. Well, look, stocks have run up in a major way. We'll talk about this in a second. And all the leaders, now if you look at the price action, I was in the office going through, hundreds and hundreds of charts, just charts, just all day today. And there was a ton of reversal activity, particularly in the true market leaders. You look at NVIDIA, you look at SMCI, all of them had these and they closed almost at the dead low of the day on extreme volume. This means that, you're having a lot of profit taking here. Many people who aren't, hold on, let me just turn off my Wi-Fi. Many people who aren't super in tune with the market, they see that the S&P 500 is only, up about 5% in the new all-time record highs. But if you look under the hood of the market, these individual stocks, they've already made, 100, 200, 300% moves, right? So as those true market leaders start to pull back and give some back, I think the market's going to go into a little bit of a correction territory here. And that is also corroborated by not only the price action in these stocks, right? We're starting to be a little bit toppy here, but also we have two interesting contrarian indicators. Number one being that Barron's article, front page of Barron, says bet on the bull. And The Economist as well, having on the front page, some interesting bull market euphoria. All right, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Oh, by the way, guys, I sent out the Behind the Street newsletter last Thursday. We talked about a ton of stuff. Very, very important that you guys read that, so go ahead and check your email. And if you have not subscribed to our free investing newsletter yet, go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and that will take you to our Substack. So every other Thursday we publish that has all of our equity research. We cover US equities, emerging markets, fixed income, and real estate, as well as cryptocurrencies as well. So check it out, scan the QR code. Richard Vogel, good to see you. Austin City Limits. I see Alan is here. What's up? B. Cruz, Sally, Michael John says, don't you think gold going through the roof isn't so good? Isn't so good or is good for gold? Yeah, gold is breaking into new all-time record highs, which is great. Man, it's so windy and cold in New York, man. It's all right, we'll power through it. I just haven't fully adjusted yet from Miami. Yesterday morning I was riding around on my Vespa. See, it's so windy, it creates these big differences in air pressure between the inside and the outside, so it's hard to open the doors. Anyway, we're on 5th Avenue. We're going to head downtown, stay around Midtown to kind of stay out of the wind. But yesterday morning I was riding around my Vespa in Mid Beach as well as Wynwood, Miami. It was 82 degrees and beautiful, so I have not yet fully adjusted to the temperature change here. Sharon, good to see you, says evening everybody. Welcome, welcome. Photos from around New York. Joe Ratz, always a pleasure to see you. I see Bree Grams. Ren 1018 says at least it's not raining tonight. Yeah, thank God. If it was raining now, it would feel absolutely freezing cold. Mac Lover, what's going on? We're standing right outside of your store, right here. This is the flagship Apple store on 5th Avenue. That sits right next to the beautiful Sherry Netherland Hotel. Absolutely gorgeous. D says it was 81 degrees in Fort Lauderdale today. Extremely, extremely jealous. But hey, it should warm up as we go through the week. On Wednesday, it's supposed to be 65 degrees and sunny in New York City. So fingers crossed, we'll see. Gary Carpenter, always a pleasure to have you back. Daytona Gal, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Optimus 17, Sunshine After Rain. Michael John says gold as an indicator for the market. Yeah, well, you have a few things. Now, do I own gold? No, but I probably will have to get involved as this continues to break out into new all-time record highs. And we've been writing about this a lot in the newsletter. Gold tends to trade very, very similarly throughout history. It goes dormant and builds these really decade-long bases. They form these monster cup with handle patterns, and then they blow through the top in all-time record highs, and then they go off to the races. And gold can run, 100%. I would not be surprised at all if you have $5,000 an ounce gold in 2 years. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So if you have TradingView or your Bloomberg terminal up, go ahead and pull up a chart of gold, but on a monthly time frame, and you'll be able to see the price action all the way back to the early 70s. And that's how gold tends to trade. You'll have these massive boom-bust cycles in gold, then it goes dormant, creates these very long base patterns, and it blows through the top. And I think you have the fundamentals corroborating why gold is breaking out, right? One of which I think we would all agree, as we're standing outside the Plaza Hotel, particularly as it relates to the United States, is we are obsessed with debt. Particularly our government, Congress, is obsessed with deficit spending. And what I believe, as we're looking at the GM building here, great view, I think gold and Bitcoin, okay, but we'll just talk about gold for now. I think gold is telling us, right, or is telling the market that this government spending problem or this deficit spending problem is not going to go away. If anything, it may get worse. That's actually what the market is telling us in terms of gold. This is 432 Park Avenue right here. This black building is Trump Tower. And the building directly in the center is the GM building. It's pretty cool to be able to look at it from this angle. But yeah, so, and another thing that I have to give credit to my friend here. He said, look, if the Federal Reserve does not cut interest rates, that could also be another catalyst for gold, as well as if they cut. And I know that sounds weird, right? You may be saying, well, Tom, why is that a positive catalyst for gold if the Fed doesn't cut rates, right? Doesn't that kind of cool the economy and all that? Well, the way it was kind of explained to me because people send me stuff all the time, if interest rates stay elevated, it's going to be increasingly more difficult for the U.S. to service its debt obligations, right? Just the amount of money that we have to pay in interest is going to be astronomical. So that kind of puts a bull thesis for gold, right? To, protect yourself and protect essentially your purchasing power from, that side of the spectrum. But also if the Fed does cut rates, right, that may actually spur more borrowing and more opportunities for not only the government to continue to spend in perpetuity, but also private entities and corporations. So we'll see. It's very interesting. I think everybody needs to be paying attention to the price action in gold and Bitcoin because we can use them for leading economic indicators. But we'll see. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that's would you agree? Would you concur? Would you disagree? Kind of what are your thoughts out there? Hey, Oscar Diaz. Tom, I heard of the cup and handle in which you recommended a book on your channel looking at the cycle of stock market. The indicators have that pattern. I don't know if I recommended it. What do you mean? Hold on, let me go back and read that comment again. Yeah, I have a lot of good book recommendations for sure. But Carl Roth says, Tom, we are hearing reports that the markets are going to slide this week. Investors taking money out of the Big Seven and putting it into the Russell. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if exactly they're going to put it into the Russell 2000. I mean, you never know. Maybe we'll get that rotation. But again, on Friday's action, if you look at the leading stocks, the TMLs, like the NVIDIAs, the AMDs, the SMCIs, almost every single one of those stocks showed big reversals. And again, that doesn't mean it's the end of the bull market. That just means you're going to have a normal pullback and correction, but we need to watch it. We need to keep our eyes on it. This is the Plaza Hotel Residences here. So if you own a spot at the Plaza, you go right here. I love looking at all the architecture. Chris B, what's up? Good to see you. Vince Lee, Manny, Andy, what's up? Good to see you. Michael John says, I think 2008 was the last great surge for gold, which is not a good indicator. Well, I think gold topped in 2015. And, I guess we could have somebody look this up in the chat. But I believe gold went on that big run. It was either 2011 or 2015. I forget. And then it sort of traded down to sideways until now. Oscar Diaz. Yeah, that's a fantastic book. How to Make Money in Stocks by William J. O'Neill. It's a great book. It's a fantastic book, I agree. Otto, what's up? This is Hey Tom, good to see you. Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? Next week, all eyes are really going to be on this inflation number, right? Because we need to remember something. The next Fed meeting is on March 20th. So all of this talk about, are we going to get a rate cut? Are we going to get a rate hike? Are we going to continue this pause in the hiking cycle? Well, we're going to find that out on March 20th. That is the next FOMC meeting, when Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will get together with all the other Fed presidents to kind of set the tone for monetary policy moving forward. Now, to review where we are right now, the current Fed funds rate sits at 5.25% to 5.5%. Now, CPI is coming out Thursday, I believe, before the market opens. I've never been to this restaurant. A lot of nice cars outside the Ritz-Carlton, though, tonight. My God, wow. I think that's a Ferrari here in the red. I believe this blue one is a McLaren, I think, right? And you usually don't see really nice supercars in New York City in the winter, right, for obvious reasons. You see them more in towards like the summer and the spring. But it's kind of cool to see them. Maybach here. Anyway, getting distracted by the cars here on Central Park South. This is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and Residences, though. So no wonder why there's really nice vehicles here. This is 6th Avenue. So, headline CPI is expected to come in at 3.1%. And I believe the core CPI number is supposed to come in at 3.7%. So we'll see what happens. Hey, Joseph Hardaway. Yeah, Target reported a decent quarter for sure. Ren 1018 says, Tom, once the Fed cuts rates, watch out, prices will drop. Prices of what? Are you talking about prices of stocks? Like stock valuations? Brad's Brain says, thinking about IBD Live since Webby's back, but not sure I have time to make it worthwhile. Yeah, I usually just watch like the replays and stuff. I don't particularly subscribe to it, honestly, I don't. I just like a lot of those guys, like Mike Webster, Arusha. They've always been like really nice to me and the fund manager I work with, so we're all just kind of chatting. But yeah, he was a legendary PM at O'Neill. Really, really talented PM there at O'Neill. But yeah, Brad, we connected a little bit offline. I'm gonna add you to the mailing list. I'll send you all the stuff. So I guess we'll start off by making some general predictions. Now, here's my concern about inflation. My concern is that the Federal Reserve, which I don't think they're going to do this, by the way. I don't think Fed Chair Jerome Powell will do this. I hope they don't come out and start to walk back their expectations for inflation. This is 157 we're looking at right now, Central Park Tower and 220 Central Park South. Now, we know the Fed has a dual mandate, right? Price stability and that 2% inflation number. Now, currently, the last headline CPI number that we got was about 3.1%. This month, right, which we're getting the CPI number out on Thursday, should also come in at 3.1%. Does this mean that we should be expecting to be stuck in a higher for longer inflation environment, targeting about 3%? It's possible. I think the number one factor that's really going to bring inflation down to the 2% target is if we really continue to have downside pressure on shelter costs, right? So if you type CPI in the chat, and we've gone over this many times, but it's very important that we understand that we know this. So if you type CPI in the chat, the Nightbot is going to drop a link to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it's going to give you an infographic line item by line item of each category that makes up CPI, right? Every single category that makes up that CPI report. So take a look at how lagging shelter is, and should shelter return to pre-pandemic levels, that'll get us back down to 2%. But it seems as if we're having this elevated inflation level right around 3%, and if we stay there for duration, hopefully the Fed doesn't say, you know what, let's just make the target 3% instead of 2%. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that we are going to be in a higher for longer environment as it relates to inflation in the U.S.? Are we going to be seeing, I would say, in duration, 3% readings? Who knows? Ren 1018 says yes, equities. Hey, neighbor Bob, what's going on? That's a beautiful shot of 157 and Central Park Tower. Ren 1018 says when Fed raises rates aggressively, they are trying to cause a recession. When they drop rates, which is when the recession gets triggered. Well, I wouldn't say they're trying to cause a recession, but it is true that once you start the cutting cycle, that's when you usually have significant declines in those in the equity market. I think we're going to see a big pullback next week. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but it's important. And I was drilling through hundreds of charts today. You know, and all of those, all the true market leaders that have been leading this market higher, you know, a lot of them have blown off, and a lot of them are showing very big reversal signs, which is not to say that it's the end of the bull market, right? You know, in a cyclical bull, usually you have 2 to 3 corrections of more than 15%, right? In a cyclical bull. So if the market, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and an interesting thing is the NASDAQ 100 has been riding the 21-day. It has not closed below the 21-day moving average, I think, in over 6 months. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a trip to the 50-day. Not surprised. We'll see. You have a lot of weakness in semiconductors right now, which have been the leaders in the market. This is the New York Athletic Club. Look at how cool that is. Brad's brain says, I think yes, we are settled in at 2.5 to 3%. I have reversed thinking and believe Jerry's going to achieve a soft landing. Maybe. Joel PM says 2% was supposed to be a ceiling, not a target. Carl Roth says, Tom, here in Canada, our rates are not expected to go down until 2025. Hudat Dave says the Federal Reserve is not changing its goal of 2%. Hope not. And I don't think Fed Chair Jerome Powell will. You know, regardless of what a lot of people say about the guy, I mean, I think he's done a remarkable job with the mess he was handed, right? All right, everybody, this is Alwyn Court yet again, one of my favorite buildings in New York City. Just beautiful architecture here. MBA Elias says, Tom, do you put more weight on CPI or PCE? CPI tends to show more inflation, in my opinion. I personally put more weighting on CPI, which is actually the opposite of what the Federal Reserve does, by the way. But both are important to look at. I mean, what do you put more weighting on? What would you advise? Look at how cool this shot is of 157 as well as Alwyn Court. Super cool. Hey, John Kelly, what's going on? Yeah, at least it's dry tonight, for sure. Hudat Dave says, remember though, we are just back to where we were in the stock market 2 years ago, for sure. Yeah, many people, right? And this is something we said at the very beginning of the live stream. So Hudat Dave, you're right. I think the S&P 500 is about 5% past the breakout, right, of the all-time record highs. However, when you look under the hood of the market, as I always like to say, I mean, we've had about 4 months straight of the true market leaders like the NVIDIAs, you know, the SMCIs of the world, the ServiceNows. We've had about, you know, a half a year where they've just been charging into new highs. AMD. I mean, some of these true market leaders are up over 100%. So, and a lot of them are grossly extended over the 50-day. So again, I think if this market will, not if, when it pulls back, I think it's going to freak a lot of people out. But I think that's going to create an amazing buying opportunity to set us up into the summer to have a really big push higher in the market in the summer. At least that's, in a perfect world, that's what I would hope for. Doesn't mean we're going to get it, but I can almost guarantee you we're going to have a big shake in a lot of these names where you could see NVIDIA down, you know, 15, 20%, you know, before the summer. Freak a lot of people out, shake a lot of people out, and then have our 2 months, you know, going into May, June, where we find a floor in the market, bottom out, and then this thing is going to go in a big way, I think. But look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll play it by ear. I love how the city looks tonight with these big clouds in the sky. We're looking over Central Park and Columbus Circle. This big building right here, everybody, this black one, is 1 Central Park West. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. We'll head that way right now. And then that is the New York Athletic Club. I mean, just looking at the New York Athletic Club right here and these big openings makes me excited for summer. Now, when we do our live streams in the summer, you're going to be able to see, you know, so many different events, parties happening at the New York Athletic Club overlooking Central Park. It's getting me excited. We still have a few more weeks of hellish weather to go, We'll see. It's a cold one tonight. Hey, Nakos says, this looks like a scene from Batman. I know. Sabrina Fair, thanks so much for joining us. Wayne McKay says, Meta is up over 500% from the pandemic lows. Yeah, that's another TML. However, you know what? I think Meta still has a long ways to go. We've been talking about Meta, how that has been the biggest turnaround probably of the last decade. I mean, talk about a turnaround story. And I know many people, including many of us in the chat, aren't big fans of Zuckerberg, but we cannot deny, I mean, what just a rock star CEO Zuckerberg has been, right? He said in 2023 that 2023 was going to be the year of efficiency. He cut 25% of the workforce, doubled down in their core business, exploded gross margins, and profitability, I think, was up 700% last quarter from the quarter a year ago. Stock was down at one point over 70%. Now trading in new highs again. So, I mean, I think that's definitely going to be studied in business school. They're probably going to have, whole lectures on, the turnaround story at Meta and exactly what they did. It's going to be a big case study. And I think it's all going to revolve around what happened during the pandemic with artificially suppressed rates and massive amounts of liquidity being injected to the market, thus causing massive amounts of corporate bloat, right? And we've all talked about corporate bloat before. Sandy says, who's pouring all the money into Meta? You mean in terms of like a stock perspective, like who's buying the stock or who's advertising on the platform? PT Smith says TAC returns small, no money to purchase cheap used cars. Used car dealers are dying. This is PT Smith. Now PT Smith, isn't there a big increase in auto loan defaults, something like that? This is Maria. This is a great restaurant. It's a Michelin star restaurant, by the way. Has a really nice bar too. Hey, Russell Miller says, hey Tom, longtime viewer from Philadelphia. Thanks so much. Gary Carpenter says Zuckerberg is an idiot just like Musk. Well, I hope to be as big of an idiot as Zuckerberg and Musk one day. I think if I can grow up to be as big of an idiot as Zuckerberg and Musk, I mean, that's what I pray for that every morning. I get out of bed, I'm like, you know what? I hope I can become as big of an idiot as multi-billionaire Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I want to be an unbelievable entrepreneur that makes us an interplanetary species, has helped small businesses more than anybody on the planet, and has created multiple billions of dollars for shareholders. I want to be that big of an idiot. Hey, yesterday 15, what's going on? This is Hey Tom and everybody. What's up? Welcome to Columbus Circle. On this frigid night. But let's walk around and check out 15 Central Park West. Hey, Zabatata says dealerships got fat during the last 4 years. Now it's diet time. It happened multiple times over the past few years as well. I feel like there's not a lot of pedestrian traffic and there's not a lot of vehicle traffic out tonight, probably because it's so cold. Hey, Tariq, what's going on? We've just arrived back in New York City yesterday, so I've yet to adjust. Yeah, Ras is Larry Ellison. You know, we're going to hear from Oracle tomorrow, I think. I think Oracle is reporting earnings on Monday, and a little bit later in the week we're going to hear from Adobe. Now, Adobe is a complete cash cow, that company. You know, I've never attended business school, but I'm sure there's case studies on the business models, or I should say the transition thereof, of the business models of Oracle and Adobe, right? How I think those companies are model book of doing a very efficient and successful transition over to more subscription-based style services, like SaaS type business models, and doing really, really well. Adobe is, I would consider really that, a TML too, for sure. Hey, Peter says the wind in New York City tomorrow is supposed to be 40 plus miles an hour. Oh my gosh. Well, it feels like the wind is at least 20 plus miles an hour tonight. I mean, you guys probably can't hear it that much because I finally got a microphone, but the wind is crazy tonight. Like, I'm getting blasted by the wind. Everybody, here we have it. This is the congestion pricing right here. Briner says my lease ended, and instead of getting a new one, made better. DA says, Tom, I read electric vehicles give off bad emissions, worse than gas cars, bad for environment. This is DA. Hey, Cosmo Scary, good to see you, my friend. Sandy says Metastock has gone from $180 to over $500 a share in 3 or 4 months. Indeed it has. Hey, David, what's up? Says I am off Adobe and using Affinity for design work now. Let me take a screenshot of that and do some research. PT Smith says you can't eat gold. Won't be long before the tomato will become the new gold bar. Andy says, hey Tom, at what point does the deficit spending and current debt come into play in the Fed decision? Well, I think it does. I think it does in a way. However, the Federal Reserve is supposed to remain completely separate from government. They're not supposed to influence policy. They're not supposed to provide insight or recommendations. Just because, and a lot of people kind of get this mixed up, just because the Federal Reserve has federal in it, it has absolutely nothing to do with the federal government. Like zero. They're independent. It's a private entity that's not supposed to take any type of political narrative into its decision at all. Now, that's in a perfect world, but we all know that we live in reality, okay? So, look, I don't want to come out and say that, yeah, the Federal Reserve is influenced by the government sometimes, but I think it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's stated, right, that the Fed, this is a beautiful shot of Billionaires Row. My God, look at that. Incredible. It's stated that the Fed is supposed to operate totally independently of the government. I think that's true in most cases, but I still think there's some obvious influence there. Does Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, is he oblivious to our deficit spending? And does he know that higher interest rates is going to make it increasingly harder to service debt? Of course, he's not oblivious to that, right? But he'll claim, like anytime he's being interviewed, he says, no, I won't take that into consideration when setting monetary policy. I guess we'll take his word for it, but we also live in the real world, so. Guys, this building is one of the most exclusive buildings in all of New York City. This is 15 Central Park West. It's also nicknamed the Limestone Building. This building is absolutely insane. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every single day starting at 8:30, and also if you'd like to sign up to receive our free investing newsletter, we publish 2-hour Substack every other Thursday right as the market is closing. So go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and every other Thursday, we send you out our equity research piece where we cover not only US equities, but emerging markets, fixed income, New York City real estate, and also the crypto markets. Now, I can't get over this congestion tax thing I'm looking at right now. I feel like that's such an extreme overreach. And I mean, I don't even drive, so it's technically not going to affect me. However, the trickle-down effects in the economy will definitely affect me. Because if you think about it like this, if you have, the congestion pricing, and every time, let's say an electrical contractor comes into New York City from New Jersey, from Long Island, from Queens, right? Even from upstate New York, and they go to a service call in the city and they have to pay the $15. You don't think that company is going to factor that into their pricing? They're not going to pay for that. They're just going to pass that on to the consumer. So if you have to have any plumbing work or electrical work or really anything, right, delivery, they're just going to add a surcharge to all their customers, and we're probably going to wind up paying for it. So we'll pay for it one way or the other. Hey, Patricia Johnson says, "Hey, Tom, I really enjoy your newsletters." Thank you, Tom. You're a gentleman and a scholar. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you reading and supporting the channel here. This is the main roundabout at 15 Central Park West. Hey, Stan says high rates are higher CD rates. The CDs are available to everyone. You don't have to be filthy rich to buy a 5-year CD for 4.5. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like the liquidity. I definitely understand what you're saying, but I like the liquidity. So I could just buy, if you have $1 million in cash sitting in your brokerage account, you could just buy a money market where you have all the liquidity, right, to make an investment you want, while, some money markets are 5%, right? So look into that. Not financial advice, but, if you have money sitting in a Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, right? If you have a few $100,000, a couple $1 million laying around, you can get a quote unquote, risk-free rate of return of 5%, right? By sitting in a money market account. Now, obviously, yes, everything comes with risk, yada, 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 yada. But yeah, look at that. And it's very liquid too. So you have all the liquidity you need. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. I've stayed here a few times. I love this hotel. Adam says thoughts on cost of living mixed with inflation. Are you talking about like shelter costs? Well, I think it's a big problem. And however, shelter is usually lagged. It's a again, talking about liquidity, usually asset prices correct, or not necessarily correct, but change, or I should say react to higher or lower interest rates in order of liquidity, right? So if you remember from your Finance 101 class in college when you learned how to read a balance sheet, right? The balance sheet is conducted in order of liquidity, right? So you could think about the same thing with like assets. So as interest rates go up, equities, which are more liquid, they're going to reprice a lot faster to a higher interest rate environment or a lower interest rate environment. Real estate is not as liquid, right? So it's going to take longer for those assets to reprice. And I think you're just starting to see the repricing now, particularly on the commercial side. There's a lot of damage being done in commercial real estate. But yeah, I think the biggest issue with the cost of living in the United States is shelter costs, right? Rent. But slowly but surely it's coming down. And I think, particularly single-family homes across some of the major cities that were really, really turbocharged during the pandemic, like Austin, Texas, and the like. I think those prices are coming down. I mean, what do you guys see in your neck of the woods? You know, in your local housing market, wherever you are in the world, right? Or I should say specifically in the United States, are you seeing some cooling in the housing market? Like, are things sitting on the market for, longer than normal? Are prices starting to adjust? I mean, kind of what are you guys seeing? All right, this is now the Deutsche Bank Center. This was the former Time Warner Center. Deutsche Bank, the big German bank, has now moved from 60 Wall Street now up to Columbus Circle. Hey, Patriots NFL 1, this is Tom. I just found a 15 Central Park West condo for $48 million. Very impressive. Do I get a referral fee if I send you a buyer? You do. You do. You're saying you know someone that has an off-market property and they want to sell it? Send me an email. We'll do the deal. Michelle Henry says, I'm really considering RV life due to the high rents. Trevor says, how much is your rent in New York City? Oops, just lost your comment. So I own my place in Miami, but I rent in New York. I pay about $1,650 in New York City, and with my mortgage and everything, I think it's like a little under $2,000 or $2,000 something in Miami. But here's the crazy thing, right? In Miami, I have a whole house. I have like a 1,600 square foot house. I think my whole lot is about 5,000 square feet. So front yard, backyard, palm trees everywhere, mangoes, so it's like the quality of life is ridiculous compared to what my quality of life is in New York City in terms of my living condition, right? I'm in a little studio apartment. My walk-in closet in Miami is probably bigger than my whole studio apartment in New York, right? So, you get a lot of bigger bang for your buck. However, I bought in Miami just before the massive explosion in prices. So my number is going to be a little bit skewed. Also, my interest rate on my 30-year fix is like 3%. So I have pretty much free money. So inflation is paying for my house, and I rent it out. So, which is great. I always say, like, when you're young and you don't have a lot of resources, one of the greatest things you could do, okay? Now, this is my opinion. You could disagree. That's fine. We could all disagree. But one of the best things you could do when you're young, right, to just get yourself a stronghold, particularly if you don't have too much, is just work so hard just to get your hands on your first 100K banked and saved, right? Work tirelessly, do everything you can, right? And live like a hermit crab and just save. Because once you have like 75 to 100,000 bucks, you could start to make some moves. And if you acquire an asset, like a house or a duplex or a triplex, and you could live on one side of it and rent out the other side, or you could buy a single family home, live in one of the bedrooms and rent out the other bedrooms. That's going to essentially keep your overhead on your living expenses totally fixed. And you're going to pay for all your living expenses by the tenants and the renters. Now, a lot of people don't like living with other people, right? Which is totally fine, but I think it's important to make sacrifices when you're young. So once you can have your living expenses be zero, right? Because you're making money from the rent rolls to pay the mortgage. Now all the additional money that you're making could be slammed into making very big bets in a few sure things, right? So you're not scraping together the money to try to make your rent. You're not stressed out. So if you can acquire an asset, right? And one of the easiest ways to do that is by house hacking when you're young. Maybe you don't want to do that when you're in your 30s, when you have kids, but if you're in your 20s, you could afford to live with people. That's okay to be inconvenienced. You could have roommates. So instead of renting and having roommates, you could buy something and then have your roommates pay down the debt on your mortgage, and you could build equity, and you could kind of have a little bit of an asset. Hey, Clarence Jackson says your Miami house must have a lot of equity due to the increased value. Yeah, it's nuts. However, I'm actually not happy about that, by the way. So it's true. My Miami house, I could sell it for a ridiculous amount of money in relation to what I paid for it, but I'm actually not happy about that. Seriously, I'm not happy about it because I'm not interested in selling it. So the only thing it's doing for me is giving me a huge tax bill. That's the problem. So I think there's a big misconception, I think, in America. Everybody wants the valuations of their properties to go up. If you're not planning on selling your property for a long time, it's actually in your best interest to not have the assessed values of your home go up. Because the only thing that's going to do is make your property taxes go through the roof. It's going to blow out your taxes. So your capital expenditures go up. So you feel great on paper, right? You're like, oh, this is great. My house, I made $300,000 doing nothing, right? I'm just giving an example. But your tax bill also went up $2,000 a year, which is not fun, right? Look at this. This is 432 Park Avenue from 57th Street, and we are standing right outside of Central Park Tower. Hey, Alley Star. I agree, totally. Patriots 1 says he has to have a connection. It's all about that in New York City apartment pricing. Anna says, is your studio similar to the size of a closet? Super affordable in New York City. Well, it's like there's no kitchen. There's like a little hot plate there. But due to my lifestyle, since I commute back and forth so much, it's fine. I'm never in my apartment anyway. I'm at work all day, and I'm doing the live stream to 11 o'clock at night. And then I go home, I go to sleep, and get up and go to work the next day. So for me, it's like, look, in New York City, I don't need to live in a luxury place. I'd rather pay as little in rent as possible and then buy something, right? At least that's for me, So instead of, could I spend the $3,200 on an apartment here and live in a really, really nice place and have more space? I don't really need it. I have a house, and it's in Miami, and that's where all my stuff is. So I come here, I grind for 30 days. I have 1 week off in Miami where I can kind of recollect my thoughts, and I could save money, and then, hopefully in a year I'll just buy something. I really want to buy my old apartment that I used to rent during the pandemic. We'll see. Things are crazy. Things are expensive, guys. Things are really, really expensive. Hey, Michael says, hey, Tom, what's on the agenda for this week? How long was your flight from Miami to New York City? And what time did you land yesterday? Yeah, so big week on Wall Street. I will sort of hit all the major points. But I took off, I believe, at 3 o'clock from Miami International Airport, and I landed in New York City at around 5. No, 5:30 I landed, right around 5:30. But this week is going to be a big week on Wall Street, particularly for inflation. We're going to get CPI numbers, right? The CPI report is coming out, and this is going to be the last big piece of economic data, aside from the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, which we're going to get on Friday, before the FOMC meeting on March 20th, right? So it's going to be a big week for inflation, huge week. Looks like we have another show coming out of the Carnegie Hall. Cosmo Scary says, Tom, do you ever plan on buying international properties?
Wow.
Yeah, I think, maybe something in Korea. But here's the thing, I don't know any of those markets, right? I think in order to buy something, you should know the market. I'd never really travel abroad, so I'm kind of, I'd say, ignorant to like the market over there. I don't know, what about you? Would you want to buy something overseas? Or you think just keep your place here? Now this is 157. This is the first building ever constructed on New York City's Billionaires Row. Michelle says, hey Tom, how did your showing go today? Not good, to be honest. Just being honest. Actually didn't go that well. But that's all right. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep hammering on it. Kelly says, buy abroad. Property costs less in prime locations. Well, where would you recommend or where would you advise? What do you think? Where would you advise? This is the Russian tea room. Now here's the thing though, everybody. I actually had a conversation with a really, really good, I wouldn't say friend of mine, but acquaintance, more like a mentor. Very successful guy in real estate. And you know what he said, which I think I kind of agree with him. He said everybody right now is kind of getting very pessimistic on the United States in terms of real estate, particularly in New York and California, right? So again, not to get political, but we all know what happened with the ruling with Trump, all that, boom, boom, boom. We get it. We don't have to go into it. And they paraded out so many people on, the news saying New York is uninvestable, California is uninvestable, no one's ever going to buy real estate there. We're going to take everything abroad. We're going to go to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all that. And, it's like the reason why I think America, the United States of America, is, in terms of we're talking about just the real estate, and then we'll get into equities later, has always generally done really well. It's because of our geographic location. Like, our country, there's no other country on Earth. There's no other country on planet Earth that has the most desirable location in terms of geography than the United States. One day, or literally 3 hours, you could be in 80 degrees, beautiful tropical weather, and then in 3 hours you could be in the mountains skiing, right? So the diversity in geography, right? Jimmy Buffett once said, change your geography, in that song. So yeah, all this money, I think, that's going to Dubai, and I'm a big fan of Dubai and all that. I think it's temporary money. A lot of it is from the sanctions that we put on Russia, so a lot of it's being laundered over there. But for long term, at the end of the day, it's about where you want to live. It's about quality of life. And just America in general is so strategically placed, from sea to shining sea, my friends. It's just like the best place on earth. So, no, I think in short duration, right, thinking short term, there may be short-term pain in the real estate markets on the commercial side in New York and in San Francisco. But long term, there's going to be absolute fortunes that are made from people buying distressed assets when everybody is too scared to do so in cities like New York, in cities like San Francisco, because these places are just too desirable, right? And I really mean that, by the way. I think anybody, and I think many of us would agree, right? If we're taking our politics out of it, right, and full transparency, I'm a conservative. If you put a gun to my head and you're like, hey, you vote for Trump, you vote for Biden, I'd vote for Trump. Not a political guy, I respect everybody. However, I will say this. Never let your political ideology get in the way of an investment decision. You can make a fortune in the state of California. You can make a fortune in the state of New York. And what I'm seeing a lot of astute investors right now, a lot of smart people, they're just letting their politics get in the way of a really, really good opportunity. And that really all boils down to investor psychology. So regardless of politics, New York State is an unbelievable place, right? And I think if anybody who says, New York sucks, it's horrible, I think they're really just being haters. It's the same thing, California sucks, it's horrible. I don't travel to California often, but guys, the place, depending on where you are in California, like San Diego, Silicon Valley, the place it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place, right? The state of California is a gorgeous state, right? Do I agree with the politics there? No. But the place is absolutely gorgeous and desirable. And that, in my view, is what's going to keep things moving. I've always said New York City, and really New York State in general, due to it being so amazing, kind of gives it like this invincibility to our inept politicians. And you don't really have too many places on earth like that, by the way, right? If you have inept politicians in Canada, people are going to be like, I have to freeze my ass off 90% of the year, and then I have to deal with inept politicians. Here, at least if we have some inept politicians, you jump on a plane 2.5 hours, you're in Key West, or you're in San Diego in 5 hours. So the U.S. is so strategically placed, and I think a lot of us can take that for granted. Anyway, I'll stop ranting on it. Look at this. This is Steinway Tower. This is the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world. Hey, Hood Patriots is San Francisco, 3 hours away from Lake Tahoe. Abdullah says, greetings, Tom, just joining late. Good to see you, Abdullah. Happy Sunday, by the way. Wishing you well in the week ahead. This is the Alliance Bernstein building. Hey, Raz, Tom, do you think Boston is a good place to live? I wouldn't personally live in Boston, but that's just my preference. I like New York better. But yeah, Boston has a very, very robust infrastructure for biotech and big pharma. So let's say if you're graduating college and you want to go work in pharmaceuticals, I think Boston is the place to do that. Boston is another one of those cities that has a very, very robust educational pipeline, right? Some of the best schools and institutions in the entire world, quite literally, are in and around Boston. Hey, what's up, Kenny? Now look at this. This is the Alliance Bernstein building. But we know that Fortress Investments is in here. Fortress is a very successful hedge fund. And this guy, Mike Novogratz, who is now he's the founder of Galaxy Digital. Someone just sent me, this was like a month ago, he has a podcast now. And it's very, very helpful for anybody who's in finance. It's a really good podcast. I forget what it's called, but if you just Google Mike Novogratz podcast, they have really, really good guests. I was just watching the one with Anthony Scaramucci on there. Incredible stories of their business career. Now we're going to head down towards Radio City Music Hall. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams every single day starting at 8:30. Let's make a left on West 53rd Street, and we'll take a look at 53 West 53rd. Yogi says Scaramucci is a very funny guy. I like Anthony a lot. I mean, he's made some big mistakes with the FTX stuff, right? But at least he owns it, right? I mean, at least he owns his stuff. Yeah, but he's a good guy, funny guy, really successful guy too. Smart. I believe he's also a fellow Long Islander. PT Smith says, Tom, car repos are exploding because many people are defaulting on their auto loans. This is partially due to a surge in car prices during the pandemic, which led to high loan-to-value ratios. I totally agree. And we've been seeing that not only auto loan defaults, we've been seeing a lot of increased credit card delinquencies too. And we could look and kind of look at that data from a lot of the big banks and the credit card issuers. That's something we've been writing about in our newsletter as well. But yeah, I think you make a great point. We should watch that. Pay attention to that for sure. All right, everybody, this is 53 West 53rd Street. This is another building. It's not on New York City's Billionaires Row, but it's considered a Billionaires Row building. It's right next to MoMA, which is the Museum of Modern Art, and it has a private restaurant in your building called 53. Now, if you walk a little bit closer to it, you could actually see all of the people dining in the dining room here. This has been very popular amongst, Billionaires Row-esque buildings like 432 Park Avenue, Central Park Tower, 157 Steinway Tower, 220 Central Park South. Almost all of them have private restaurants in the building for the residences, right? So a lot of times you'll see the common charges be extremely high at these buildings, mainly because the amenity package is so crazy. For example, if you guys want to see the inside of the first building ever constructed on New York City's Billionaires Row, just type !57 in the chat. So !57 in the chat. And I was able to get some footage for you guys of the last available sponsor unit at 157. And one of the amenities that you get is you get access to everything that the Park Hyatt Hotel has to offer, which is the 5-star hotel that's in your building. So you can get access to the room service, the housekeeping, the spa, I mean, everything. It's crazy. Some of the amenities that these buildings have. It's like not only do they build them taller and skinnier, but they try to one-up each other with all these amenities. It's crazy. At the end of the block, you'll see the new Mandarin Oriental residences. Hey, Ed Dunkel. What's up, Ed? Says, what is a sponsor unit? So a sponsor unit essentially means you're buying new development, new product from the developer. It's not a resale. So when you launch sales on a building and when you're buying new dev, it's considered a sponsor unit because you're buying it from the sponsor. So for example, let's say if, that particular apartment there is selling for 3.9 million. When you make the offer on it and you do the walkthrough, you get a punch list. It's called a punch list. And it's a list of items that need to be checked off so you get new product. Because, we're showing these units so much. We could show one apartment upwards of 100 times. So there's people walking through it. We have events. Maybe they get scuffs on the floor, chips in the countertop. So if you're buying new development, you want a new product. So you get a punch list and you walk it with the inspector and say, hey, this floorboard needs to be replaced. There's a scratch on it. Hey, this countertop is chipped. You need to put in a new countertop to make sure that you're getting it in good condition. You're not going to get that in resales, right? If you're reselling your apartment and there's a scuff on the floor, 9 times out of 10, the owner's not going to replace that. But in new development, you go through the punch list, you're buying it from the sponsor or the developer, and they make sure that they fix everything before you move in. All right, welcome to Fifth Avenue, everybody. Pee Wee Rivers, Tom, in your personal opinion, which of the two cities has better pizza? Or which borough has better pizza, Brooklyn or New York? Or I should say Manhattan? I like Manhattan. I think there's a lot of good pizza in Manhattan. Hey Herbert, says Tom, pedestrian traffic may be lighter due to the Oscars? Ah, okay. When's the Oscars? Let me catch up on some comments. Adam says, should I sell my house in Greenpoint? Well, it depends. Number one, I love that neighborhood. I love Greenpoint, so I'm sure your valuations have gone up. But you know what? I think if you don't need to sell it, and again, it's very broad, I don't know your situation, but I think the valuations are going to continue to go up in Greenpoint, to be honest. I mean, look at the new development pipeline there. It's a very trendy neighborhood. I used to live right on DuPont Street. So, I don't know. Any other real estate agent out there would be like, yes, sell it now. I don't know about that, actually. Again, if it needs like extreme repairs and you don't have the money to make the repairs, I get that. But I think you're going to do well on that. I think you're going to continue to do well on that. If it's an asset you want to keep in the family forever, Greenpoint, Brooklyn, if you own a townhome or a single family home there, I think you're sitting on a fortune. I really do. So you could send me an email and we can dig into a little bit more, but I don't know. I like Greenpoint, Brooklyn. There's a lot of new condos going up there. A lot of the yuppies that are moving here from out of state, they love Greenpoint too. All right, guys, this is the brand new Mandarin Oriental Residences that sits right here on East 54th Street and 5th Avenue. I think it's beautiful. Now, if you like the Mandarin Oriental hotel chain, that's right at the Deutsche Bank centers, you can maybe even buy yourself a place here. And it's right next to the University Club. Look at how beautiful all the crown moldings are here. Hey George, thank you so much for your $8 donation. Appreciate it. Love the architecture here. Hey, Sinjib, good to see you. Thanks so much. Hopefully it's actually really nice out. this week because I want to bring you guys to Lower Manhattan, and I want to walk Battery Park. I want to go all the way down there, but it's just been too freezing to do that. All right, I'm going to put you guys down for one moment on the steps of St. Thomas Church. Give me 1 minute. Have to plug in the phone. Now, I forgot if we talked about this, everybody, but the cover of Barron's, look at this. Now, I know, we don't have to take it like super literal, but uber bullish cover stories, and if you look back throughout history, you can use them as intermediate term, sort of like contrarian indicators for the market. Most recently, and we wrote about this like a year ago, I think the biggest contrarian indicator that Barron's had recently, and recently I mean the last like 5 years, was about a year ago when the US dollar was so strong. And Barron's had this article, or this cover page, you know, that said the strong greenback, if you will, right? And it was a photo of the US dollar with George Washington flexing his muscles. And then the US dollar proceeded to decline and enter a bear market. This is the Cartier building. Super pretty facade. Let's cross back over to 6th Avenue. Now, I'm going to be writing about these contrarian indicators this Thursday in our newsletter. And I'm going to be doing a historical analysis of this just to kind of give us some ideas. Now, should we, really trade on these indicators? Not really, I don't think, but we should be cognizant of them. And we can kind of use them to corroborate the trend. Now, not to sound like a broken record, but on Friday, you had tons of reversal action in the TMLs, the true market leaders. The Nvidia's huge volume blow off, closing at the dead low of the day. Same thing with SMCI, AMD, ServiceNow. All the leaders that are up and out and extremely extended Massive selling across semiconductors and massive selling across enterprise software. I think you saw monstrous profit taking, and I think this could be the start of our first correction in the new bull market phase. So the main indice I like to look at is the NASDAQ 100. And the NASDAQ 100 has been riding the 21-day moving average all the way up. Right? We have not had a correction to the 50-day in 6 months. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that here, which, you know, assuming all goes well, that should set us up nicely for a pretty good rally in the summer. So I think if we can kind of correct this spring, let things cool off a bit, you know, shake some people out, I think it'll be good. So if you scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email this Thursday, I'm going to be sending out the 5th issue of the Behind the Street newsletter. This used to be open to the public. It looks like they closed it down. Vacant Sam says, I'm buying what Pelosi is buying. The old Congress trades, right? Hey, Mohammed, good to see you. Hey, Western Mass Dave. What's going on? Oh, the Oscars were today. Got it. So how was the Oscars? Fire infrastructure merger. Wow. So where are you guys moving to? Now VMware, I used to sell some VMware products back in the day. I used to sell the VMware Workspace ONE product. Peter says, Tom, have you walked down 6th and a Half Avenue? We have before. And I don't think I'll ever do that again because we had this really sick, crazy security guard lady that started freaking out on us because we walked down 6th and a Half Avenue. Cooking says, what are your best salesman tips? I think just be confident, be persistent, and never give up. And I know that's kind of like a cliche, but it's true. You have to really persevere through adversities in sales, and you need to be in it for very, very long durations. I think that's why the vast majority of salespeople in anything, right? You could be selling software, you could be selling houses, you could be selling investment products, you could be selling anything. But people quit because they're not in it for long duration. And the work that you do today, right, depending on what you sell, the work that you do today is only going to show its head and materialize 8 to 12 months from now. And that's a really hard pill for people to swallow, but that's the truth. You know, when I was in tech sales, there were some deals that I did that I was working on these companies for 2 years. So it's all about persistence and duration, right? And, you know, a lot of times if you're dealing with vendors, right, if you're dealing with a certain point of contact at a company and they tell you, hey, you know, it's just not the right time for us to move right now, actually believe them. Don't be too pushy and hammer these people, because the people that are managing all the vendors of the company, they get hammered and hounded with cold calls, cold emails, and they know, you know, everybody's just trying to be a very pushy salesperson, but a lot of the time they're telling the truth. If right now is not the time for them to merge, you know, different software or different infrastructure projects or take on a new vendor, it's not the time. Just continuously follow up with them periodically, right? So just follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Not every day, but maybe once every month or something, and you're gonna get the deal. But you have to do it over very, very long duration. Look at this. It's the corner of 6th Avenue and West 50th Street. Beautiful view of Radio City Music Hall. You know, and also here's another thing. I would just audit your own life, right? I'm assuming everybody here is very busy and people forget. And people are also lazy, by the way, including myself. You may not think I'm lazy, but I am. Everybody is lazy in their own way. So sometimes people just don't want to deal with the salesperson right now. So if you can just kindly and gently follow up in perpetuity forever, I mean, not hound these people and spam people, but do it in a gentle, nice way, but relentlessly, right? Maybe once every 2 weeks you follow up. People will get back to you. People are busy, life is hectic, life is crazy, but if you're always in front of the game, you're gonna get the deal. Sometimes people forget. So if people are not getting back to you, oftentimes it's not because they don't want to talk to you, it's just because they don't have the time right now. And it's not a good time, but it will be a good time sometime, and you need to be there when it is a good time. Look at how cool this taxi cab is. Looks like they're shooting a movie here. Wow. $1 for the first. Yeah, you can tell this is way, way back in the day. 10 cents per 45 seconds. Look at that. Wonder what movie or TV show they're filming here. John Kelly says you're 100% correct. We all pick and choose what we can focus on and can be absolutely lazy with other things, for sure. Hey, Mr. King of Florida, what's up? Pretty cool. Hey, SoCal Lawrence, good to see you. That's a good idea. Yeah, well, Jay says check the pink signs. Let's see what they're filming here, guys. Actually, let me look first and I'll tell you guys. Oh. They're filming SNL 1975. So maybe they're doing like a Saturday Night Live skit, something like that. Interesting. This car looks crazy though. I think this car looks better than any other vehicle that's being made currently. I mean, look at these cabs, right? What would you rather ride in, this cab or this cab? 100% that one, right? Let's continue down. Wow, guys, look at this. There's a whole string of old vehicles here. Looks like there's a big movie set. Oh, look at that. They have the big boom. They have the camera all the way up here. So this is cool. Now, my uncle is in Local 14, so the Union of Operating Engineers. And as he's, he's old now, as he's moved up in seniority in the union, he's been able to work on a lot of movie sets. So he did all the stunt work for Spider-Man. So when you see Spider-Man like flipping and flying around, oftentimes that was my uncle throwing him around on the crane. This was not the most recent Spider-Man. I think it was a few Spider-Mans ago. So let's see what they're filming. Let's cross when it's safe to cross. And we'll check out some more of these old vehicles. Look at all the equipment here. Yeah, the whole block is old cars. These old cars look super cool. I kind of wish this is how all vehicles looked. Even still. Hey, Hawaii, what's up? We're just checking out this film set. I think they're shooting some sort of TV show. Wow, I think I like this taxi a little bit better than the other one. What do you guys think? This one looks really nice, doesn't it? That one's even cooler than the other one. Oh, they even have all the trash cans. I think this is prop garbage. You can see all the 1970s style garbage cans. Actually looks pretty cool. Okay. Oh wow, Matthews is filming the SNL original movie. Cool. Look at this big boom camera on this big boom here. That's really cool. I'm really glad we came down this way. What do you guys think?
And then grab the other hand. 68 days to figure it out. But that's it's not fun. You're gonna be busy then.
Everybody's crowding around trying to watch the movie set, I guess. So that's one of the cool things about New York. You never know what you're going to run into, right? Elias says, Tom, how often do you see filming the movies or commercials? Not too often, actually. Ever since the pandemic, not actually that often. This is the first one in a while where I've actually seen it, like, here. Yeah, Hal T says you're an extra, Tom. Yeah, it's going to be 1970s, and then it's going to show us in the back with our iPhone 13 mini. Walks on Wall Street cameo. This is cool. Let's see if they have any more cool props over here. This is the SNL movie. Now, you know what? Rockefeller Center is nice. It looks great. But I'm kind of sick of looking at this ice skating rink. Would you guys agree? I think we need to rip this out of here and get ready for the spring already. I think I've had enough with the winter. You know, I mean, the ice skating rink looks beautiful, it's pretty, it's all good, but I think I'm kind of over it right now. Oh my gosh, we've almost been streaming for 2 hours. I gotta head back downtown. I'll take you guys with me. That's cool. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow and see if they're shooting anything else. Now, you know what? Way back in the day, I was watching them film Money Monster. And I watched them film the scene with George Clooney. Had that big vest on right outside of the Federal Reserve. If you guys just Google the movie Money Monster, I think it's George Clooney was the lead, had the lead role there. And the main scene, the most famous scene in the movie, was filmed right outside the Federal Reserve in Lower Manhattan. This was a long time ago. And I just ran into it. I was riding my skateboard and I had my music in and everybody was screaming at me. I was like, whoa, what? And they're like, dude, you're riding your skateboard right in the set. They're like, you got to get out of here. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I don't really see much film, television stuff in New York City anymore. I don't know why. Maybe it's just I'm not too aware of it, but
I'm traveling all the way to Brooklyn.
Who knows? Hey, everything in Miami, what's up? I'm really wishing I was back in Miami right now, but hopefully things warm up here in New York. It's freezing out tonight. And I feel as if the city's rather dead tonight. Someone said that maybe because of the Oscars, but you know, for Sunday night in Midtown, not a lot of people out actually. I feel it's very silent tonight. Is it because of the Oscars? Maybe. But I don't know if that many people watch the Oscars. I didn't even know the Oscars was going on until Western Mass Dave told us about 15 minutes ago. Or everybody's in Miami for the UFC event that was yesterday. Does anybody get a chance to watch the UFC event last night? I'm not a big fight fan, but I did watch some of it, and wow, was that main event crazy. I think the main guy, Sean O'Malley, that was a ferocious knee. You got to look that highlight reel up. I mean, just cracked that guy with this just explosive knee to his face. And I don't know how someone survives that. The guy, I forget who the guy's name was who he fought. The guy wasn't even startled. The guy takes a full-on flying knee to the face, and he just like totally brushes it off. It was insane. I mean, those people are built different. I mean, if I took a flying knee to the face, I'd probably be in full panic mode. My teeth would probably be all busted up. I know, SoCal Lawrence's, that knee was brutal. It was crazy, and you could hear it. You know, I think there was, what, 19,000 people in the Kaseya Center. Sold out event. I think this was the UFC's, I think one of their top 5 best-selling UFC events was last night. Crazy. Hey, Michael says, was there a wind advisory up there? I think tomorrow is going to be crazy wind. Tonight it's crazy windy. I'm not sure if you guys could hear it or not, because I do have the microphone, but it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds right now. 25 gusts, but tomorrow's supposed to be 40-mile-an-hour winds. Not fun. And I have to go all the way to Brooklyn tomorrow. Double not fun. NFL Patriots NFL. So did you get a DJI or Rode mic? No, I had my old microphone that I got from B&H a long time ago, but I left it in Miami. I just remembered to take it with me. So I have it, but it's just been a while. It's just like a wired mic. So it's to South New Jersey as well. The wind was crazy loud outside. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. But this wind, this big wind system, is supposed to bring in a lot warmer weather towards the tail end of the week. So that's actually pretty good news. Hopefully we have an early spring, we'll see. You can see the very top of One Vanderbilt. JJ, what's going on? I know, NBA Live says the wind chill will be brutal tomorrow night in New York City. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be streaming out in that. Oh, tomorrow, everybody, we will be officially launching our second channel. So I get a lot of feedback, particularly, you know, in the email box, which I appreciate. And there's a lot of people that say, you know, I love the financial talks, I love all the information, but oftentimes I can't, you know, watch the whole 2-hour live stream, which I totally get. So we are going to be doing, so like everything that we speak about on the streams, right? I'm going to be doing like a 5-minute video behind the desk, right? at my desk in the office there, and just sort of doing every other day, just line item by line item, all the big, we're going to cover every single sector in the market, kind of all the stuff that we talk about here, just in a different setting. So it'll just be me behind the desk, and you'll have the agenda. So it'll be very organized, so everything we talk about, every video will come along with PDF download of an agenda, everything we spoke about, useful links. So it's sort of gonna be like like an agenda you'll be able to download and have. So stay tuned for that. That should be live tomorrow. Beautiful one, Vandy, yet again. This is Berkeley College. Mark says, Tom, did your parents sell their place on Long Island? My parents only owned a house on Long Island for like 2 years. This was like in '95 when I was born. Look at that. Beautiful view of the Chrysler building. TK Porsche says, what will the channel be named? I'm not too sure, but I think it's going to be named Behind the Street. So the same name as the newsletter. But the goal of that is to just make something very digestible. Main action items. You could see the rig that I have at my desk, fully screen recorded. But I want to make it very organized, right? And that's kind of where that agenda comes in place, where you could download all of the links that we use, so you can replicate this yourself, right, as you build your own kind of investment process. But I think I'll keep it the same name as the newsletter, Behind the Street. This may be one of my favorite views in the entire city. Grand Central Station, but right behind it is that beautiful Chrysler building. And then right here, One Vanderbilt. This thing is massive. You really don't understand how massive it is until you're standing directly under it. Fun feed says Thomas's birthday is in July. It is not in July. It is in May. My birthday is right on Memorial Day weekend, May 25th. Mark is like, Tom, I love watching your New York videos from my warm house in South Florida. I'm sure you do. Man, I love South Florida. Well, it'll be spring soon enough. Only a few more weeks. I don't know, any suggestions for what we should call the second channel? MBA Elias is Wall Street Walks and Talks, maybe? I don't know, we'll see. This is the Campbell Bar here. Chris says my vote is Talks in Wall Street. Maybe I'll take that into consideration. You never know. Dave says, why have a second channel? So a lot of the feedback that I've been getting, let's go inside Grand Central. is just to make it more concise to the financial topics without, you know, the walking around the city, which I love, but which we'll still do these, obviously, all the time. But for the big concepts, it's easier for people to break that down and consume it in a 5-minute concise video when there's not, you know, horns honking, you know, random shrieking on the street. So I think for retaining the information and kind of like news updates, it's a better format to do it there. And some people can't join for the full 2 hours, which I totally understand. I do these for 2 hours because I'd like to get the exercise. I like to talk to you guys. You know, even Grand Central Station feels mysteriously quiet tonight, doesn't it? Kind of feels like you're walking through a church, but we're obviously not.
Attention customers, for your safety and the safety of others, please do not sit on the floor or stairs in Grand Central Terminal. Thank you for your cooperation.
You know, maybe I'll run a poll. But talks on Wall Street could be good. Maybe we'll do that. We'll see. We'll see the format. We'll do it. And I think it'll be fun to kind of build a second channel too. Tariq Khan says the New Yorkers love Oscars. I didn't even know the thing was going on tonight. I'll watch some of the highlights. Usually Twitter is really good about, you know, compiling everybody who won awards and things like that. Really see the wind picking up now. All right, I think we're buffering here, but we've been streaming for 2 hours. So let's go ahead and call it a night. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. And we will see you all back here tomorrow. I'll leave you off with this incredible view of the Chrysler Building. Feel free to subscribe and like if you're new here, and we will see you all tomorrow right back here live from New York City. If you want to sign up to receive all of our free equity research, just go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen, punch in your email, and it'll take you to our Substack. So until tomorrow, Esmeralda, I appreciate it. Frank, Mark, Chris B, Sharon, Dale, Chris, Richard Vogel, Handsome Devil, Elias, Brad's Brain, Hawaii, Mary, always a bull market somewhere. You guys just need to know where to look. Happy Monday and have a very productive week. See you tomorrow. Take care.